Much better. Much better. Let's go here. Hello, whoever comes into the chat, say hey. Get some coffee made real quick. So we got half a gallon. So we got some raw milk today, which is really cool. So we got a local farmer and had some raw milk, which is cool. Absolutely awesome. Excuse me. Hope everyone's doing well. You guys let me know when you're in the chat, ask me anything. We're doing some coffee real quick, making some shroom coffee. The Shroomology coffee with chaga and lion's mane. So you guys feel free to ask me anything that you want in the chat. Some of the topics of discussion are gonna be business, mindset, philosophy, things like that, right? Health and nutrition, health and wellness, nutrition, how to feel better, how to have more energy. All those are topics on the table. Now we are getting ready to have a snowstorm. Well, they say snowstorm, an ice front come in. So right through here, we have a couple things set up just in case. So we're prepared just in case, just a couple things right here. But I am in the chats. So let me know if, I guess, ooh. Don't want to cut that camera off. While I make some coffee over here, let me know if you want to chat. I'm looking at the chats. Engage with me and I will engage with you guys. The only thing I ask is that you keep it polite and keep it appropriate. Feel free to talk about pretty much anything on this channel. You know, even though the old saying is race, religion, and politics you shouldn't talk about, it does kind of seem like race, religion, and politics gets talked about on my channel a lot. But you know, open up, type below, don't be scared. Nobody's gonna be mean in this chat. I've got moderators and just kind of open up, come hang out with me. Your favorite coach and entrepreneur, Coach Chris, 10-year Navy veteran. So, there we go. You guys let me know. I don't see any chats coming in. There's a few people in here. Feel free to open up, guys. What up, everybody? Primo169. Hi, Primo. It looks like Primo is number one right now. You can see he's got the crown. Shout out to Primo169. What's up, brother? What you doing today, man? Where you coming in from, Primo? You in the United States or you in another country? Where you coming in from? Where you coming in from? Payu. Okay, Jeff Jefferson. Hi, how are you this morning? Sammy, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How are you doing? Getting ready for the cold front coming in the south of the United States. Got some supplies over here, basically some propane and some lighters and all that. How are you this morning? USA. Play some music. I'm in Georgia. I'm in the southeast. I'm in the southeast Georgia. Yep. Southeast Georgia. Play some music. Well, I got my piano and stuff in there. I'm going to play some music in a little bit. But first, I need to get my coffee. Shout out to the sweet potato I'm propagating right here. We're going to make a sweet potato out of that sweet potato. Got a lot of stuff going on out there. But yeah, we out here in Georgia, man. Pretty good. Just woke up. We are just hoping the power thing doesn't go out with all this cold. Yeah, Sammy, same situation. Same situation with the cold. So I've got right here, I've got a single burner propane, some propane. You know, I got some of these like other pieces right here, these other propanes. Got me some flashlights and some batteries and this little sucker right here, my little Porter Power battery. So we've got food and we're prepared. I'm in Michigan and we are getting a lot of snow. Shout out to Michigan. Michigan in the house. What state do you live in? I'll play some music in a little bit, Jeff, if you want me to. I'm just going to play a little bit of the piano. Still working on the guitar, but boy, I got so much business and paperwork, and all I'm sitting over here is streaming, trying to get monetized on YouTube. What sense does that make, right? Cool, cool, cool. I sent my dad to get supplies, and all he got was pizza rolls and orange juice. Well, you got to think about it. I mean, if the power goes out, you know, pizza rolls and orange juice, that could go a long way. Oh, that's funny. Dad, it's going to get cold. We need some supplies. Will you go to the store? Certainly. I got some orange juice and some pizza rolls. We'll be just fine. Oh, that's funny. Well, I mean, you got the essentials covered. Hey, what's up? Time Regrets? What's up, Time Regrets? Hello from Ireland. Oh, yeah, Jeff. Yeah, Jeff's from Ireland. That's right. Time Regrets. Welcome back in. Guys, if you're into chat, excuse me. There you go. You see that little thing right there? A little sucker right there. There you go. Thumbs up. I'll probably have a little bit more energy once I get my coffee. We've been pumping some long days recently, so. Let's see here. Hello from Ireland. What's up, man? Jeff, Sammy and Jeff. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Yeah, feel free to pick my brain, man. Hopefully you liked the last video I did. Look at some of the shorts. We are, we're still on the path to monetization. So all you guys that continue to come in, it really does help me, because it would be awesome to get monetized on YouTube. Hey, I really want to change my name. It doesn't sound good. Do you have any suggestions? You mean your YouTube name? Like your Time Regrets name? Mm-hmm. You want to hear me play? Well, I mean, it's not like I'm not a great talented musician or anything, but I play some original music. I'll play something. I don't know. So, think of a good name, think of some ideas, and then throw them in Grok or Chat GPT. Think about, make a framework in Chat or Grok, the AI, OpenAI, and say, create a framework for a new YouTube name that sounds good, or however you want, say it's fun, sounds uplifting, and then put in like what you want it to be. But it should be something that you remember, that represents yourself, and something that's kind of unique. You could do, it kind of depends on your own interest and your own hobbies. Take what you like and then reverse engineer it from there. Right? Like if you want to do a brainstorm, throw some words out there. Throw some words out there. I love raisins. Classic trance. I can dig classic trance. That's not bad. It kind of depends on what you want your name to represent. You know, if someone doesn't know you, they can say, hey, here's a cool name. But it really kind of depends on the name that you want. Can you play Robert Miles' Fable? Bioengineering food, that's my word to brainstorm. Bioengineering food. GMO, the GMO show. You could do the GMO show. Thank you, I'll definitely, yeah, time regrets, that's what I mean. So like someone else can give you the like advice, but I would take what you like. Let's say, for example, you could say music, artistic, fun, creative, outgoing, food, and then blend all those together and then create a framework and let them give you some suggestions and they'll make you a list. And then you can kind of use the tool to help organize your thoughts. Yeah, bioengineering food. I'm sitting there thinking like the GMO show. That would be kind of cool. Because, you know, the GMO, genetically modified food, the GMO show, and then you could have like a guy with like 16 eyeballs and like 27 toes and call him the GMO show. I love GMO food. It's amazing. And you have like, you know, like 7 eyeballs and like 12 toes or something. I mean, that's what my brain thinks about. So I don't know if you guys are as animated as me, but I'm sitting there thinking like the GMO show, bioengineering foods. I don't know. It's okay to be facetious. I just like having deep thoughts in conversation. I thought that's what you see doing. Oh, absolutely. Freebird, of course. Oh, I do like deep thoughts. As long as you keep the thoughts, and as long as we can do something somewhat, stay respectful and not overcross any lines, because sometimes people come in here and if they have deep conversations, man, you may give them an existential crisis. And I've given people existential crisis before unintentionally, just because my brain, sitting there drooling all over myself. You guys probably think I'm retarded. Look at this guy, he's drooling while he's talking. Sitting there, deep thoughts make me drool. Anyways, no, I've had deep thoughts of people, and then they start to have existential crises, and I'm like, listen, let's just like stop right there, because I don't want you to like rethink your whole entire identity in this construct of a matrix, you know. But oh, thanks for the thumbs up. Yeah, I like the deep thoughts. What's up, Battle? What's that? General Washington. Yeah, thanks for your comment, man. You don't know me, man. What's up, Battle? I'm just bored and scrolling the live streams, the positive ones. Yeah, for sure. Well, we need less than 580 more hours to get stream monetized, which is cool. Yeah, so getting to No Way Affiliated, we started doing some supplies right through here. Right through here. We've got propane. We got a little battery charger over here. Got some supplies. I've got like a whole camping gear stuff here. And then I have all this propane and stuff. So, yeah. I mean, essentially, we're prepared if the power goes out. So, but we are staying warm. How are you affiliated? Battle. Are you doing, how do I say? Are you guys prepared in case it goes out? Am I a prepper or an outdoors guy? I don't think I'm either. It's just there's a cold front coming. So prepared in the sense that you see out here. I'm trying to grow food. I got chickens over there. That's the studio where I do my music, where you guys see me. So I like the outdoors, but I don't spend as much outdoors as a lot of people because I do a lot of computer work too. Because I run an insurance business out there. What is it? Never mind, you answer, yeah, I got a little battery pack that's charged up. I need a legit gas generator. Yeah, well, you can get a decent gas generator these days that, you know, for a few $100. I mean, definitely under $1,000, and you can get one. But also, that's just to keep your food and stuff. But also, don't underestimate just a burner, just like a single burner, man, and then have some propane. That way you can burn, boil water. I mean, hell, I can take that and make coffee if I need to. And then we have canned foods and stuff. Yeah, I got batteries. You kind of look like MMA guru, no offense. RXS, I don't know who MMA guru is. I don't know what that is. But I've got some powdered protein, so if I needed to eat, I could just eat off some powdered protein, keep my energy up. I got potatoes and stuff. So we're pretty good, and if I needed to heat up anything, I can just take this little battery charger right here, and it's enough to, like, you know, it's a Mabiro portable. It's actually got a solar panel on it too that I can charge in the sun, but that don't really help right now. But yeah. Yeah, you can't really rely on the government. However, in the United States, I mean, you got a few MREs? Well, cool, yeah. I got some gasoline and a bunch of wood. So worst case scenario, I'll just take my cast iron skillet, make a big thing of fire out there, keep it covered, right? And even if it's cold, I feel like I can get a fire going. Between gasoline and wood, it's pretty easy to get a fire going. I just drench the wood, light it up, and I got some good oak. So the oak burns really slow. So essentially there's gonna be no reason for me to have to worry, even if the power goes out. But you never know. If we need to, the freezer will be fine. Got some frozen food. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. I've even got a few MREs. That's funny. Oh, your weather, I see now. Yeah, it's good to be prepared. Can I? Yeah. We have a big cold front. A healthier MMA guru? I don't really know. Are you saying like someone who likes, I got a Blue-it 1200 watt battery solar. Oh, heck yeah. See, 1200 watt, that's good. Yeah, that's enough that you need. I mean, it's not like I need a huge generator to keep the entire house or anything on. I'm not running that much power here, so. I'm trying to understand what oh, there's Zane back. Thinks I'm Jesse from Breaking Bad. Yeah, I figured that's what you meant, man. 1200 watt battery solar. Yeah, that's enough. I mean, depends on how much juice do you really need, right? I don't have like a huge farm or anything. I don't really need that much power. I mean, realistically, I have a tent that if everything went out, I've got a greenhouse out there. Like, I could start a fire out there and be fine for a while. I've got enough food. Frozen food. And then if it's cold, what's good is your food won't go bad, really, because it's so cold. All right, let's see here. Somebody said I look like an MMA guru. You mean like a mixed martial artist? By the way, did anybody watch the Paddy Pimblett fight? The Paddy Pimblett fight? Boy, Paddy. I actually had Paddy possibly winning against Justin, but, you know, that's what happens. In those fights, man, when you have a guy that's favored and he's normally an underdog, A lot of times that happens. Got some sausage. Let me eat one of these. Uh-oh. I've been saying I'm gonna fix. I have this little plastic piece that keeps falling off the fridge. I've been saying I'm gonna fix that for like 3 months. So what you guys got? What you guys want to talk about? What do you guys want to talk about? You want to talk about some philosophy? Philosophy's fun. You want to talk about staying in shape, nutrition? You want to talk about, anything that you want to talk about within reason. This is a good spot to talk about it. We can get silly sometimes and we can have some fun, but what I really enjoy is talking into deep thoughts with you guys. For example, neuroscientist Andrew Huberman has a podcast, obviously, and he's talking about humans, and he's a neuroscientist, and how we have the innate, like when humans believe in God, there's something in our brain chemistry that changes. So I'm always trying to learn how other people live, and if they believe in God, if they don't, what changes that. Like, I'm not a really big fan of religion. I'm not a big religion guy, but I do believe in God, which is cool. And I don't really know what type of God I believe in. I just think there's a higher power of some sort. And that's typically something that either rubs people the wrong way and they think I'm like the Antichrist because you don't believe what I believe, or it's something that's more of a lines of where I'm okay to understand that I don't understand everything. And I think to truly reach an enlightened state, to try to be the best version of ourselves, we have to realize that our human intellect, we're not going to understand everything. Also, something I like to talk about is self-discipline and doing things that allow you to grow as an individual. So if there's any things that you're working on with self-discipline, something like that, feel free to put those in the chat. I'll give you some positive words. All I ask is that any of the haters that come in, y'all can make fun of me, say anything you want about me, but please, 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 all I ask is that you don't make fun of anybody into the chat if they're actually trying to open up and better themselves. I won't just ban you, I'll report you. So if somebody's gonna come into the chat and openly try to learn, make themselves better, have some respect for them trying to better themselves, man. Nobody's perfect. Let me check my text. I think I got a text real quick. Okie dokie. Good. There we go. Feel free to put anything in the chat, guys. I'm getting ready to eat me something yummy. Boop, 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 boop. Alrighty, what you got here? What's up, man? How was your meeting today? Hope everything went well for you. Meeting, I did some study and did business meetings and knock out computer work. As far as any actual meetings, it's kind of more of me preparing for Monday, which is tomorrow. And preparing for Monday and tomorrow and getting all the paperwork together. We're pretty much at a good standstill. I mean, I always have work to do when it comes to the office stuff in there, but I'm one of those people that, look, you can work 100 hours a week or you can work 50 hours a week. You can work as much as you want. In my line of work, there's always people to call. There's always deals to do. What's up, man? How do you feel about the Jewish community? I don't know, man. I try to judge people or form my opinion on people, because you can say don't judge. Everybody judges. We're all human beings. We all have cognitive dissonance and biases. It's just how humans are. I'm not exactly against any individual, but throughout history, the Jewish community has got some history lagging behind it. Like, they've been kicked out of, like, I don't know how many hundreds of countries. They've caused all sorts of havoc, and I don't know, man. But I'm not going to judge an individual based on a group. Like, I can't take an individual and based on the group that they come from, judge them. But I'm not a big fan of any group that thinks they're chosen by God. If any group of people says we're the ones chosen from God, then and those people actually believe that, I don't really understand that. To me, that seems like it's kind of narcissistic and tribalistic. Hi from Croatia. What's up, man? But at the same time, you can't judge a group of people. I mean, there's stereotypes, but you can't judge an individual just based on a group of people. Now, an individual is more likely to have characteristics of a group that they're associated with, for sure. But after I've traveled, I've seen people from all over the world, had conversations with lots of people. I need to have a conversation with someone before I form my opinion with them. Simple as that. Anyways, what's up, man? Hi from Croatia. Zan Lukic. Welcome in. Welcome in, Lukic. Hello from Croatia. We're in the United States here. Hope you're doing well. Never Loser Rick. Hey there. Hello. I made me some yummy food yesterday. Off. Made some yummy food yesterday that I'm heating up. Hi from Northern California, Granny. What did you say? Not all? Well, I mean, if you say not all, but more than not for an individual, then you're kind of having cognitive bias. Now, I'm not saying that I'm right on this, but this is just how I'm thinking. I try to, when I meet someone, try to take away any stereotypes or anything that I think is going to make me biased with them. Now, it's easy. There's a reason why there are stereotypes, because stereotypes seem to have some common traits with people. But the best thing to do is never judge anyone presumptuously or assumptuously, and find the individual. And if they're part of a group or an association, like for example in America, the BLM movement, the Black Lives Matter. Anybody who did any history knows that the Black Lives, you said, what is this? The 46th president was Joe Biden. All right, I got no comment on that. You look like Obama. Well, I'll tell you, there's a political system, and you got to make sure that you have to fight the part. Definitely look like Obama, right? I'll tell you this, no one's ever said that's because he's the bomb. All right, man, well, if you think I look like Obama, then I'm gonna step out on a limb and say that I don't think I look like Obama, But you're entitled to your opinion. It's a free country. See, that's what's beautiful about the United States. That's what's beautiful about the United States. You can have opposing beliefs with a peaceful assembly, and in case things get crazy, you have the Second Amendment right to bear arms to defend yourself in case it gets crazy. Yeah, man, look, you don't want to judge a book by its cover. Look, I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't say I still sometimes judge people. I'm consciously aware of it, so I'm better than I used to be, but it takes a lot of effort to consciously remove your bias and then look at something from a third party perspective without influence, right? It's easier said than done, but that's kind of what life's about. You got to always try to progress to the best version of yourself. Not saying it's easy, but that's the role that I play. Like, look, I would look at the Black Lives Matter group. Okay. What's up, Granny? According to my research, the Black Lives Matter group basically was started by a kind of like a heavyset lesbian lady, right? What's up, Catherine? And a lot of the money that came in, they didn't even put it into their community. So if someone's associated with a group like that, that still doesn't mean they're a bad person, but someone with a group like that is probably easily manipulated. Now, sometimes people are just ignorant and they get part of groups because what they believe and they want to be part of something, they feel they're doing the right thing, but they may be getting taken advantage of, or they may not do their own research, right? So, let's see. Granny says, did you ever meet a Jew? Yeah, I've met lots of Jewish people. Some were really nice to me, some weren't. Some tried to, I once met a group of Jewish folks who I told them that the Talmud was kind of mean to people that weren't in the Jewish community. And they were like, oh, you know what the Talmud is? I was like, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Talmud, if y'all know what that is. Kind of says if you're not part of their community, they can pretty much treat you like a dog and do whatever they want to you. That type of radical thinking, I'm not. But then again, you can look at radical thinking from the Muslims. You can look at some of them from the Christians. I mean, every group of people that get together, there's a possibility for something radical. So that's where you have to take the individual. The individual may be influenced by the group. The individual may be brainwashed. The individual may be smart. They may not be smart. Like, there's a lot of factors that you have to consider before you form your opinion on someone. Like, how many times, what's this? Chris, people should respect your stream. Well, there's no reason for people to respect my stream. They have the right to do whatever they want, but I also have the right, because of YouTube and stream, to say, hey, if you guys make fun of me, whatever you want, talk about what you want, just keep it somewhat respectful and the conversation will go. And if someone's out of line or they're really especially sexually explicit for my younger viewers and stuff, we're not gonna handle that. That's all I say. You did an anonymous bank job. Did we rob a bank together? Sheepy, what are you talking about? See, when the trolls come in and they do something creative, then I think it's funny. If they're just being sick and like nasty, it's like, yeah. But nah, Shibi, I don't think we robbed the bank together. I don't think you got the right entrepreneur, man. That's why I abandoned Middle Eastern mythologies and returned to the gods of our white forefathers. What? Some of these comments just make me laugh. I abandoned the Middle East and went to our white forefathers. I mean, that's... Yeah, of course. I've read some of the Quran. I've read the Bible. I've read Talmuds. I've read ancient literature and text. I've listened to theologians and PhDs that studied their whole life and formed my own opinion. Yeah, I don't think the Talmud's good for you if you're not Jewish. You're pretty much like a dog. I mean, if you read it, it pretty much says if one of your friends is Jewish and one of the nots and one of them's not, and you're allowed to treat people differently based on that. It's like pretty racist, man, because the only credential to why someone treats you different is based upon your race and ethnicity. So that in itself is kind of racist. So what it does is I try to read things and then put myself in that perspective, not what I believe, but paint a perspective with me there, and then determine, well, do I agree with this or disagree with this? And to be fair, most religious texts I really read for entertainment and just, I'm very fascinated why groups of people in tribalism, well, for one thing, tribalism scares the hell out of me. I mean, just think about this. Let's think about soccer or football, and let's think that is something. We'll take football in the United States, or we'll take soccer around the world because I think or cricket. So you have teams that are fans. You have this team, Team A, Team B, Team C, Team D. All of them are tribes. And when things get really heated, they'll butt heads. Like in the United States in football, you go to a college game with two of the best teams, the fans will start fighting. To me, it's all a form of tribalism, and I see like a lot of religions doing that same thing just for tribalism. Now, I'm not for or against anybody. We have our own personal truths, but it's like, yeah. So who's the question mark here, dude? Yeah, the Talmud, man. I mean, yeah, the trolls that said I abandoned Middle Eastern mythologies and returned to the gods of our white forefathers. So you can get a new car for 500 or a phone, TV, tablet, new box for 1,000. Neither. I have a car. I don't want to pay any more insurance. I'm pretty happy with my vehicles. I have a new iPhone. Well, I mean, I'm not in the market for a car. So I know some dumb beats said, hey, I don't know, man, but you looking for a car for 500. I mean, maybe if I wanted to flip it. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's one book or 30 books, man. It doesn't really matter. If part of a series of books says something that's really bad, that doesn't justify any of the other parts that are good. You know, same thing for most religious texts. But yeah, just read parts of the Talmud, and it's pretty sick. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyone who's not read it and you're on a spiritual quest or you want to learn about different cultures, you know, I'll tell you who makes more sense to me are the people in the Asian Pacific, like the Taoist, people that believe in harmony and balance. That's about the only thing that I've found that makes sense in my life as far as like harmony, peace, and balance. Hey, playa. Oh boy, let's see. When deaf people see someone yawning, do they think they are screaming? I don't know, man. Let's think about that. Well, no, because if I was screaming, it would be like this. And when you yawn, it's like this. I guess if you yawn like this, I don't really yawn like that. Just because someone's deaf doesn't mean they're stupid. I mean, you know, I'm pretty sure they still have eyes that work and they can read body language, and 60 to 70% of language is nonverbal. I mean, smart car. I sat with some Buddhists. They were pretty chill. Tony is always right. Yeah, anytime I've ever talked to Buddhists or Taoists or people that, especially, I lived in Japan, guys, in case you don't know. I lived in Yokosuka when I was in the service for 3 years. Dude, the Japanese people were hella cool, man. And I went to China for a while, for about 45 days one time. And yeah, being out in the middle of the woods and talking to the monks and stuff, and then playing ping pong out there in the wilderness. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, I had some really interesting experiences, and nobody really cared about your religion or anything. They just cared that you were in harmony. You treated people well with respect. And that made more sense to me than any form of organized religion. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's false. It's just from my own experience in traveling. That's what I concluded. And I tell you, if you've never traveled to the Asian Pacific and spent any time over there, it's a really good place to go if you want to broaden your perspective and really open your mind to how other people live in different parts of the world. Hey, play a good answer. Keep your powder dry. Joe, I don't do drugs, brother. Just so you guys know, I'm actually a big fan of not drinking, not smoking. I mean, I know some people are going to say, hey, you could do DMT or ayahuascas and have these spiritual experiences and stuff. When I was younger, I did recreational drugs when I was in my 20s. You guys remember, I'm almost 40, so I'm a little bit older, right? I'm almost 40, guys. So what I decided is, like, I got closer to the source, to God, when I got sober, and I started focusing on self-discipline and studying, and then being out in nature. I think like Granny said earlier, peace comes within. A lot of spiritual leaders have come to that conclusion. This message is held for review. I'm not even going to read it. Most of those messages I don't read. So if the message is held for review, try to do it in another way. On that note, I am a big fan of this Shroomology. So by the way, this is our coffee stand. Y'all like the way it looks? This is a little creative element, something like this. So we took a toolbox and we turned it into like a snack station. That's kind of cool, right? So we got hot drinks, we got some candies right here. Try not to eat a lot of candy, but sometimes the family comes over, and just because I don't eat it don't mean they can. All right, Granny says, I'm reading the Quran. I'm open to learning about higher consciousness closer to the love of light. Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing is, you should read everything you get your hands on. Like, you should read the Bible, you should read the Quran, you should read the Talmud, you should read ancient texts, you should read literature, you should read Shakespeare, you should read Mark Twain, you should read C.S. Lewis. Like, you should try to read as much as you can and get as much information that you can. And then the information that you read, a lot of times you'll get experiences from other people's life. So you take the information that you read, then you take your anecdotal experiences in life, then you travel and talk to people around the world, then you come to your own conclusion. Like, I think that's a really good balanced approach. And yeah, I encourage everyone, like, just because you read something doesn't mean that you think it's true or false. We're reading as human beings just to open our minds and to learn. That's kind of like how I see it. I think we should read as much as we can. Or if you're not going to read, at least do audiobooks, or go, if you can't read very well, even old poetry is cool. Yeah, of course. Look, a diamond that's 10 years old and a diamond that's 1,000 years old is still a diamond. It's still a diamond. Yeah, you can find truth in poetry. Remember, poetry is the ability to express and articulate in an own unique perspective what you see. And everybody has their own unique perspective. That's the human element to life. The human element to life, What is this? Yeah, I never said that I never said the Talmud was the Bible, so I don't know why you're saying that. It's a book of debates, right, collective, sure. Right, it's a collection of books, right? I don't know what point you're trying to make. The point is, if you read the Talmud, it's pretty obvious that it's, I tell you what, anybody who's in the chat, if they want to understand why I'm not a fan of it, just go read it. It'll make sense. It'll be like, oh, that's not very good. But like everything, you can find good and bad in everything. And don't forget Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche beyond good and evil. Friedrich Nietzsche had, don't forget, morals and ethics have a aesthetic quality. For example, if you kill a butterfly, you're probably going to be looked at as a villain. If you kill a cockroach, since people typically don't like them, even though they're part of the ecosystem, you kill a cockroach, you're a villain. But you kill a butterfly, you kill a cockroach, you're a hero. You kill the cockroach and you're a hero, but then you kill the butterfly and you're a villain. So Friedrich Nietzsche was one of my favorite authors because, he talks about everything having an aesthetic quality. For example, I'm 6'4" and I stay in shape. The fact that I'm not ugly is probably a reason why some people come into my streams sometimes. That's an aesthetic quality. That's not fair. Whether, let's say, someone else is smarter than me, well, someone may not listen to them because they judge them based on aesthetics. That's just how things are. That's why I do my best to stay unbiased and try to learn, right? The agnostic as well. Yep, there's another perspective. Yep. Another one too is something I like to do is I like to listen to debates, right? You want to read as much as you can. However, one of the cheat codes is if you take debates from people who are really, really educated in one subject. Let's say you take people who are educated in one particular subject and they get on stage and they talk. A lot of times I like to listen to debates between people who are really intelligent, and then I'll take notes and I'll fact check what they say. But having intelligent people discuss what they know in open dialogue is a really good way to learn fast, because they've got, imagine someone studied the Bible for 50 or 60 years. Okay, they're going to have a perspective that's different than someone that studied it 10 years. Imagine someone studied physics for 70 or 80 years, and that person that's studying physics wants to talk with someone who's studying biology, or get a group of a panel together and leverage each other. That's where you learn a lot, because you can vicariously absorb more information at a faster rate, and then you can get reference points to then go verify using your technology. Does it make sense? Shout out if you're enjoying the conversation. Do a thumbs up. Thumbs up, guys. Thumbs up if you're enjoying the conversation. And I guess, Granny's in here, and got some other folks. The Dakeling thrush blew my mind. The Darkling thrush. I don't think I've read the Darkling thrush. I don't know if I know what that is off the top of my head. Sounds familiar. Carl Jung, absolutely. U.S. tap. U.S. tap. Is crazy. Yeah, see, some of these things I haven't even read. And, I get ideas all the time. Cactus Talker. I stopped reading the Bible after it started talking about Jacob stealing his older brother's blessing by taking advantage of his blind father, and then goes off to work for 7 years to marry his cousin. So, I would say this, Cactus Talker. It depends on if you think the Bible is fundamentally true by word or if it's a story. So, it all depends on your perspective. You can take stories of the Bible and you can look at them as stories or mythologies and things to learn from. But if you think that it's absolutely fundamentally true and everything that's written is verbatim true, which really isn't true for anything in life, then yeah, that would be absolutely sick. I'd like to think it's a lesson where Jacob is teaching you what you're not supposed to do. But yeah, that's a good point. So I can see your perspective there. The Bible is part truth, but about a higher consciousness. I can see that. I think all religions may be streams leading to the same ocean. All streams leading to the same ocean. Trying to do higher consciousness, I can see that. By the way, guys, because I'm drinking a lot of water, I am going to come over here and I'm going to pee real quick. So forgive me if you think that's rude. I live in the real world. If you think it's weird that I'm going to pee, then I ask you, ye who is not peed, cast your first stone of judgment. There we go. I just live in the real world. Ye who is not peed, cast thy first judgment of stone. Do not judge my stream for peeing. No, but is the United States cheap? Well, it depends. What is the color of happy? Just because you ask a question doesn't mean it's valid. You'd have to say compared to what? Cheap compared to what? In the United States is different states, so depending on the region. See those broad, that's just, go ahead, I'm pooping right now. I once had a friend that texted me one time, and this is a kind of a joke. He was, I did wash my hands. I did wash my hands. I washed them and I have hand sanitizer too. So anyways, right now, don't forget the paperwork. That's funny. Tony is always right. That's funny. The UK. Yes, you did. I guess you're typing English and then translating. Was that Arabic? Yeah, yes, you did. Is that Arabic? Is that what that is? All those symbols and stuff? I'm in Georgia, guys. I'm out here in the South. I'm in Georgia, in the Southeast United States. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, the Arabic language I know is really old. I don't know what's older, Arabic or the Chinese and Japanese katakana, but I always am fascinated by how Arabic looks. It always looks like squiggles and symbols and lines and stuff. I used to want to try to learn Arabic just so I could understand more when I look at original writings, just the way it looks. It's always like curvy and stuff. Very aesthetics. Well, hello from Northern California. Good conversation, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'd like to think that a lot of the stuff I talk about, I would go viral faster on streams if I was able to probably just look at trends and just put silly stuff out. But I've always wanted to go viral for trying to learn and try to have conversations like this with people that are, some of you guys are talking about the Bible, some are talking about the Talmud, some are talking about God and all this stuff. But as you can see, we're all here together and no one's really crossing a line to be too extreme. Because if you really believe that if someone really believes what they believe is true, then that's great. And if those people can come together and discuss, like what's wrong with people with opposing viewpoints coming together and then discussing, and if they don't agree, then instead of being radical and violent like a primitive monkey, right? We're civilized people. Just agree to disagree and move on with the life. So, I don't know. It's always something that's kind of like I don't know why it fascinates me so much, but I'm more fascinated with the sake of people aligning in tribalistic views and whether that's part of our nature or if some people can just separate that. I believe in you. I learned Arabic to know the global enemy. Well, we probably agree that there's elites. I mean, I think we can all agree that there's these, I believe in you, Crimson Diamond. You fascinate me. Well, good. I'm glad I fascinate you. I'm just me. I'm just your favorite coach and entrepreneur, Coach Chris, has a deep desire to try to, reach a higher level of consciousness. Think about consciousness is you have your viewpoint. And a lot of people go through the world like this. They're like, listen, I know the truth. The truth is so true. Even though they can only see this far. All I want to do as I get older, I want to widen my consciousness so I can see more of what's going on. Because I think that's the path to where we learn the most in this human condition that we live in this life. Yes, Coach. Unfortunately, when you are governed by a primitive scriptures primal... Tony says, unfortunately, when you are governed by a primitive scriptures, primal urges prevail. That's actually a profound statement, Tony. Yeah, if you are brainwashed and you get conformed to you could say primitive scriptures. I think primitive might be... I'm not saying it's not primitive because, human history and wars and stuff. I still think there's something to be learned in primitive scriptures, even if it's to learn what not to do. But I do think we have tribal urges inside of us, and it would probably provoke. Like if I like alcohol and I go into a spot where everybody's drinking, then my urges for alcohol may increase. So in a metaphorical sense, I could see that. But I still think there's things to be learned in all religious scripts, because people at the time were usually pretty intelligent to come up with either stories, truths, maybe it was the divine power of God, but just putting thoughts down on paper shows that someone's at least has the capacity to think. Now, whether we're thinking right or wrong, there's a lot to be learned in that. I would say tunnel vision versus primitive, but there is a primitive element. But then again, we're primitive, barbaric beasts. I mean, humans are, we're not that much smarter than monkeys. Hell, I met an orangutan one time when I was traveling in the Navy, and that sucker could take a hammer and nail and knock a piece of wood. And I know some people that can't do that. So I'm convinced that we're not that much smarter than monkeys. Like, we can do things they can't do, but the gap of knowledge between us, I don't think is nearly as wide as we would think. And just as we, living in the world, look at a cockroach or an ant, and they probably don't even know we exist, I still think there's probably a higher probability that something is better than us looking at us, whether it's like a giant cosmic microscope. It's very plausible that everything else, there's always a bigger fish, there's always a bigger something. It's very possible that there's something larger than us around us that we don't see, because we're like a beetle on a stick in this three-dimensional world just crawling around, but there's a whole world outside of it, and that's kind of where quantum mechanics opens up a fascinating thought experiment. Cultural identity blindness. Absolutely, that's a profound statement. The Bible's right here, that's the nature you acquire through experience and reaction. Well, experience, reaction, and I would say retrospective. It takes thought and it takes energy to look back at things and try to be reflective on it. Reflection is super important, especially if you can do it unbiased. And yeah, cultural identity blindness, if you identify with the culture and anything that you learn goes against your culture and you're not receptive enough to at least hear or learn something new at the sake of your own culture, then yeah, someone's blind, and those people are never going to reach the highest versions of themselves. And that's where the old saying comes, ignorance is bliss. Me personally, I wish I had a brain and a mind sometimes that could just accept things and be blissful and happy all the time. Like, ignorance is bliss. The more you learn, the more you study, the harder it is to try to become aware and conscious. Ignorance is bliss. The older I get, and I feel like in a lot of ways I'm ignorant. And I study something every day. I do my best. I literally feel like the more that I learn, the less that I know. Is anybody else like that? Every time I learn something new, it's not, this is the answer. It's, oh, I learned this, and now there's 19 other things that branch off of this, Written by history of exaggeration. Well, I think the Bible probably has some exaggerations in it, for sure. I think most mythologies, most theologies have some exaggerations, because a lot of times what we write and what we're reading is written documentation out, not when something happened, but hundreds of years or generations after an event happened. And then if you take the game where you sit in a circle with a bunch of people and you say a sentence and it goes around the circle, by the time it gets back to the point, in that very point in time, the story's exaggerated. So if you take text and documents that were written hundreds of years after someone died or whatever, how is it going to not be exaggerated? That's the human condition. Of course we're going to exaggerate, Hi, Things with Jacob. What's up, Things with Jacob? Hope you're doing well. I thought I've seen an orangutan, but it was just a drunk Irishman throwing hands in a pub. Well, how could you know the difference? How could you know the difference between a drunk Irishman in a pub and an orangutan? How would you know the difference, right? I mean, I think who wouldn't be fooled? I think so, Jacob. Sometimes the comments is my brain is so much imaginative, and I had an uncle who was Irish and was an alcoholic. God rest his soul. He was stabbed to death by his brother last year in a triple homicide. Crazy story. Welcome to my family, right? And when he got drunk, he had big red hair and a belly, and he kind of did look like a big old orangutan when he used to get into raging feuds. Sometimes I just had to calm him down. I'd make him laugh, and he's like, "You never heard that, man? How you funny, little nephew?" That's how he used to talk. But he kind of did look like a raging orangutan. Anyways, culture was mainly created to adapt to the environment. Okay. The older you get, the older you get. Aristotle said A equals A. Never forget that. Rodolph for Dungan. Thank you, Dungan, for your contribution to the chat. The Bibles are not literal stories. It's a coded book to decode for higher consciousness. Okay. Yeah, well, there's a lot of numerology and things like that, but difference was orangutans don't go bananas for little stuff. I don't know. I haven't been around too many orangutans, but I would imagine it seems like orangutans are typically more docile and more reflective. Like silverback gorillas seem to be pretty aggressive. They're very territorial, but I haven't spent enough time with them to judge an orangutan. I do find orangutans to be one of my favorite animals. As far as primates, I love watching orangutans because they just look like they're deep in thought. Like if you ever see a large orangutan like in a zoo or anything, and they always look like they're in deep thought. Difference was the Bible itself, basic instruction before leaving Earth. Okay. Sure. I mean, if that's what somebody thinks is true, then I'm, have fun reading your instructions before Earth. I think there's, just as you drive home, let's say you leave the store and you're going to drive home, there's more than one way to get home when you drive. Thus, I think it's the same thing with religion or whatever somebody believes in. I think there's more than one way to get home. I think there's more than one way to swim. There's more than one way to eat. I know people who are vegan and people that are carnivore, and they're both in their 80s. So my perspective is pretty simple. I'm a pretty simple man. Seems like everything in life there's more than one answer to. So I don't see why that would not, until I don't see an example where that's true, I'm gonna hold on to that as a kind of like a personal truth for me. Again, if I drive to the store, I could go up to Walmart right now, or a Dollar General, or an Aldi, or a Kroger, or whatever store. If I take a trip out there, or I could go walk around the woods. Every time I walk that path, I can find a different path there and a different path. You could say some paths are more efficient, some have better experiences, some you need different gear, but at the end of the day, you still get there and you come back. So, I don't know, reading the Bible makes me feel pretty guilty, so it calls out my sins, deficient things that I could control, improve my life. Well, for sure. But do you need a book to call you out on the things that are guilty in sin? Like, what does that come from? To me, it's kind of like this. If you know something, whether I read the Bible or not, I don't need any religious text or anything to tell me that if I stop drinking or I stop smoking, or let's say you're a guy and you're looking at pornography, which is pretty common, or females who read graphic novels because men are visually stimulated, right? And men are visually stimulated, and women typically read literature, right? If any of those things are becoming an addiction and pulling you away, then I don't think you need anything. I think it's just common sense. I don't know if it's common sense, but for me, I can always feel if something is getting me closer to my goal or bringing me further away. But you know, if someone doesn't have the ability to do that and then they find a book or a teaching that helps them, then that's great. And that's all for it. I'm all for that. It's just, I know with my own experience, I was able to do that just by living, traveling. You know, I've traveled outside. I lived outside the United States for nearly 3 years. You know, was in the Navy, right? Was in enduring freedom, fought for my country. And every time I went to any country or any place, I was always talking to the elders and the people who were the wise people of the villages. And it was through talking and interacting with people that I developed my perspective deeper. And I've got a lot of other stuff that happened to me in my life. And I've had near-death experiences. I felt my energy force leave my body and then come back. I felt that before. And nothing has ever had a huge spiritual encounter. To me, it's all energy. But that doesn't mean it's true, because I could be delusional. I could be biased in my own way. But all I can speak on is my own personal experiences mixed with the thousands and thousands of conversations with other people's experiences, with the thousands and thousands of hours of lectures I've listened to, of people from all different walks of life, explaining them and vicariously making my own opinion based on that. And I think that's a pretty honorable, courageous way. Right. And also, I don't think that, I don't know, well, I'm not going to say that comment. Sometimes that rubs people the wrong way. I do not try to offend people. I never want someone to feel bad. I just want people to independently think. All I ask is that people think independently. Give me 1 second, I'm gonna check my text real quick. And we're back. Okie dokie. What a good conversation. So I just wanna take a moment now for everybody that's in the chat. I'm gonna give a shout out to the top fans that are here. Crimson Diamond, Jeff Jefferson, Freebird, Granny, No Way Affiliated, Never Lose. My Arabic friend here, who's been pretty good in the conversations. Primo, Sammy, Tony is always right. General Washington, Cactus Talker, RXP, Joe, Zane, and thanks for Jacob. Shout out to all you guys for coming in. Granny. Well, I'd like to think well, I'll take the compliment. Thanks, Granny. I appreciate that. I just try to eliminate bias. Guys, if you're anything like me, it's very easy to have bias in anything. And trust me. Me too. Oh, Shawnee. Absolutely, shout out to Shawnee. Yeah. Shawnee has been coming into the chats here recently and been really cool and been commenting on my channel. So absolutely going to do that. So definitely want to shout her out. 100%. I'm low-key just generating you time. Well, yeah, well, I appreciate that. And I figured that's what you were saying. Well, I do appreciate it. As far as the metrics go, when I stream constantly for an hour here, hour there, my metrics go up. And I'm chipping away at it. It's just something that takes some time and energy. And pretty much 7 days a week, I've done a stream for almost 2 months. And I can tell you firsthand that if you guys ever want to get monetized by streaming, I do not recommend it because it takes a lot of energy. But, you know, that's all I'll say. Here's a side note. I got some raw milk from the baker's farm, and the raw milk, oh my gosh, it's so good. So I put raw milk in my coffee. Right through here. So we got some good old-fashioned raw milk. If you look right through here. Right through here. Ta-damn. How cool is that? Smell? That raw milk, oh, so good. Shout out to the farmers of America. Shout out to all you guys. Some raw milk coffee and some local honey. Very, very fortunate, very blessed. So Granny, you think that? Granny, you said all of us have opinions. Few have open minds to recognize others' opinions. You think that's true? Now, Granny, with your name like Granny, is that just like a name, or are you actually like a granny? Because what I'd like to ask is, I don't care about your actual age because, you know, personal information and all that, but what timeline are you in? Because I'm curious, because I always have had friends that I've talked to that were older than myself, right? I'm assuming if you're a granny, great granny, okay. Is that a great granny as in how you feel about yourself or actually the generation? 60s? Okay, cool. Okay, so let me ask you this then, Granny. Because you're in a later time horizon than me, and I actually find a lot of wisdom in that, like in general, if you can't hear how I talk. So, do you think that I agree with your statement. All of us do have opinions. We all have opinions because we're humans. What percentage of people in your lifetime, if you could quantify it, I'm sure if I say quantify, what percentage of people do you think have the ability to recognize, open minds to recognize others' opinions? Because as I get older, I find when I go deep in conversation, a lot of people, at least in the South, where I'm at now temporarily, you know, I wouldn't say temporarily. There's a lot of good things about the South and Lamb. But what percentage of people do you think that you've met in your lifetime and that do have an open mind in order to hear other people's opinions and not for the sake of judging or anything, but just maybe 20%? Yeah. 20% feels about right. Yeah. Have you traveled? I'm taking it that Sarah, welcome in. I'm going to be presumptuous here and say you've probably traveled a bit. Do you think traveling influenced your decision, or was it more, or how did you conclude? Because we've had some good dialogue here, so I'm curious, what was it, life? Was it traveling outside the country, within? See, there's a difference between people that have traveled and people that haven't. That's my presumptuous assumption. Now, I know assuming makes an ass out of you and me, but every time I talk to someone who's actually traveled outside the States for any period of time, they tend to have a different viewpoint than those that have not. And I find that to be consistent, whether it's the stream or whether it's in reality. Sarah Barra, welcome in. So blessed. Raw milk, shroom coffee. When I say shroom, I'm not talking about drugs, guys. I'm talking about, because sometimes people are like, yeah, drink your psilocybin and all this. I'm like, guys, I don't do drugs. Shroomology. We've got lion's mane, chaga, ashwagandha, cordyceps, and reishi. Absolutely wonderful mix to add to your coffee, right? By the way, you can go to my website, buy this, blah, 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 blah. Just kidding, not trying to sell you anything. I actually just really like the product. Buy one, get two free. Anyways, let's see here. But yeah, I'm always fascinated. I learned different cultures across America in childhood. Yep. It's fascinating when you study other cultures. I read a quote one time. I don't know if it was Friedrich Nietzsche or somebody else. It was, by the way, I'm a big fan of Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche. I think he was kind of crazy and eccentric in some ways, but he had a statement that he said, all I need is a sheet of paper and a pen to write with, and I can turn the world upside down. Yeah, Shawnee. So, yeah, I saw that in some of your stuff when I was looking at your page. A neighborhood just blocks apart. Yeah, especially if you're in something like California, where I did live for a few years. Excuse me. I lived in California for a few years. And yeah, giant melting pot over there. Yeah, Shawnee, the thing with mine, I have been sharing videos recently and doing voiceovers. Some of my videos get 7,000 to 10,000 views, but the most popular ones that have got 500, 600,000 views, a few of those, I haven't ever got on YouTube. And it's just sharing other people's content. So if I find something that's cool, I'll share it, save the video, and then do a voiceover. But that didn't really ever stick in order for me to get super chats. I'm trying to do more live streaming to build the community, because I think this, basically by what people have told me, people tell me when I go live and engage and talk, it's a very unique experience. It's not for everybody, but my metrics keep going the more I stream. The only downfall is if I'm not streaming, it doesn't really work as well. So I really see the value in doing videos and shorts that people can watch and try to hit viral. About the only thing that really goes viral is if I take a funny picture of like an animal or something that's cute, like just some type of animal that's doing something funny, and share that. I get lots of views, but that doesn't really have much to do with Mind, Music, and Muscle. So, you know, it's kind of at a, I'm kind of at a cognitive dissonance to which I should apply. But the streams take a lot of energy, and I don't recommend trying to get monetized doing it. Well, thank you. I will accept that compliment. I don't think I'm bad, I'll put it that way. Now, we're gonna eat our meal we made. It takes a lot of time compared to other things I could be doing. Somebody wanted me to play piano earlier. Excuse me. Thank you, I appreciate that. But we have been going for close to 80 minutes. So, what I think I'm going to do, unless we just have like a rush of people where we get like 50 people in, which for some reason happens sometimes, I think I'm gonna knock out a couple of my, what is that? I think I'm gonna knock out a couple, I got some tasks and I've got like a bunch of PowerPoints and stuff I need to go through. And I'm pretty much procrastinating on it because it's kind of boring. But, all right. Guys, you stay awesome. I always appreciate the conversations, and we'll see you.